Welcome everyone to another GAK9 Australia online module video review with Vino. Now, straight out the gate with this video, I'm not too concerned about the way Vino sort of interacts with the article, moving around a little bit with their mouth. If the behavior worsened, so to speak, or became more intense and more self-satisfying in the article, then I would, like I said before, would look to change the articles up to maybe a metallic water bottle or something that's heavier, that's a bit less easy to gain satisfaction from. But Vino is very quick and not overly intense with it, and I really do like the way that they are figuring out for themselves that, hey, articles are interesting, there's a lot of odor on them, and I like the way that they pay attention independently. Now, the next thing on this little fire trail, which I really enjoy here, is just how methodical Vino actually is. We'll see in a second here some really clear changes of behavior just there, as they're basically picking up on the ground disturbance and the highest concentration of odor. They're also figuring out for themselves the age of the track and the direction in which it's going. And then lastly, to finish off, they have a nice little problem solve here with the odor pool at the end. Again, this is always while we train with a person at the end of a track, so that the dogs get really proficient at solving that odor pool problem, which can so often derail a track. So all in all, a really lovely little fire trail there to get started. Okay, so I know this modified fire trail doesn't end well, but the start is lovely. I really am so pleased the way that Vino drags up the article. They're naturally, independently interested in that scent article, and then you essentially pay them by releasing all the tension once they get over the top of it. That's really going to help instill the lesson and support the dog's ability to learn through self-discovery that, hey, scent articles are pretty interesting stuff, and they're a good thing to pay attention to, and it's a great way to get what they want, which is the ability to then get to work. So really pleased with that. Look, this fire trail, unfortunate with the terrain. I know in a second we'll see there's a road up ahead. And also too, sometimes dogs just don't quite get it for whatever reason. And this is a really great opportunity for the dog to learn that, hey, if I don't work, then there is no reward. There is no payment for a partially successful track. So that's a good thing. It's a great lesson to learn. It can be frustrating, I know, but I really like the way that you handle it. Stay calm, call the dog back at the end, which I know we'll see in a little bit here. But Vino tried their darndest to figure this out, but it was just a little bit too much for them for whatever reason. But again, I really like when dogs learn through this process that, hey, unless I find the person, there is no payment, and this just makes them come out and go harder the next time around. A little bit of failure, key word there is a little bit, is really healthy and can be beneficial to the journey in a big way. So anyway, looking forward to getting on to the next video review in just a second. Okay, so this fire trail takes place a couple days later, and as you can see in that fleeting few seconds at the beginning there, Vino was raring to go. Super strong motivation to move up to the article, and in this particular case they decided they wanted to pick up the article and go for a run with it as they work the track. Look, that's fairly normal, especially with the soft articles as they get more interested. As we'll see in the next little modified fire trail, they only pick it up for a moment, but I think it's going to be time to move on to a different article. Great, so on to this fantastic 250 meter, two-corner modified fire trail. Again, really fantastic handling at the start there. Love the slow methodical movement up to the article and then releasing the tension off the leash as they get over the top of it. Once more, Vino decided to pick up the article, however this time much more briefly. So next most important feedback point moving forward is let's change the articles up to, say, like your hard Nalgene water bottles or a metallic water bottle. Anything else that's similar to those items, I would recommend moving on with. Vino is essentially just a big fluffy Belgian Malinois, and they really do love picking things up with their mouths, especially when they're so young, as Vino is. which is fine. But again, let's change the article up to something a bit harder. They've certainly learnt the lesson that the soft articles are, rich in odor, which is really good to see. And they're already super interested in the article, which using the soft articles makes that a bit easier to learn. We can now certainly progress up to a harder article so that it's not going to interfere with our future training with Vino potentially, learning to self-satisfy in the article a bit more. But enough said on that. The next thing I want to go into is obviously we're going for a lovely walk through the bush here in the footage, which is fantastic. This is really great terrain with really good productive sources of odor, which is nice to see. But the main thing I want to say here is 250 meters, 2 corners off leash is quite an achievement for a really young dog in a very small amount of sessions. I think we're still well and truly under 10 fire trails or 10 sessions anyway with Vino, and they handle this beautifully. This is a really, really brilliant learning through self-discovery here. Okay, so there's 3 things we're going to ramp up for the next round of fire trails. 1, like I said before, let's change the article up to a harder article, such as a metallic or Nalgene water bottle. Don't use your single-use plastics because those are crunchy and just as satisfying as a nice rag. Number 2, let's put a longer line on the dog. I'm not sure how long that blue leash is. I do remember seeing it previously, but let's add another 2 or 3 meters to that. Vino is handling that leash dragging behind them just fine. So let's add a bit more length to that for them to deal with. And number 3, this is the big one. We're going to add more time to the modified part of the track. So once Vino sees the track layer run off and you move away, I want you to start timing that. And the first fire trail, the little 50-meter one, when you do that again, I want you to do that one for, we're just going to start from 5 minutes because I think Vino will handle that just fine, especially for the short little 50-meter. And then same start routine as well, have them drag up the article and then let them go. Depending on how that initial little short 50-meter fire trail goes, will then, for you on the fly, indicate what you should do for the big modified fire trail. If Vino handled the 5 minutes with huge drive and energy and wasn't a problem, go for maybe 4 or 5 minutes again. If they really struggled, if the wind blew out of their sails and they sort of limped through it and they sort of lost the context a little bit, bring that right down to say maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes before starting that modified fire trail. And lastly, the criteria for the modified fire trail, because we're adding age, a longer line and changing the article, keep it about the same, 200, 250, maybe just make it a single corner when we're adding the age to it, because the age may sort of diminish the drive a little bit in Vino and sort of change the picture up a little bit. So we want to make sure they're still able to be really successful. Looking forward to the next lot of videos. Really lovely work. Vino is an absolute cracker. Great job.